We are broadcasting from Guadalajara. Sure, it's early. Those are the fireworks. We will get fireworks in the ring the moment this is over, the moment David Diamante has introduced them, and the moment we start fighting. Let's listen to David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a sold-out Estadio Akron here in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. We are live on the Zone pay-per-view for the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Canelo Promotions. Any heard of Matchroom Boxing? Y Clase y Talento. We're sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts, y Cartec, la línea más completa de autopartes en México, Value, VMC, Totam, Caliente y Alca. This bout is sanctioned under the auspices of the Comisión Atlética de Box y Lucha de Zapopan. The chairman is Omar Valle. And the World Boxing Council. The president, Mauricio Suleiman. The World Boxing Association. The president, Gilberto Jesus Mendoza. The International Boxing Federation. The president, Daryl J. Peoples. And the World Boxing Organization. The president, Francisco Paco Valcarcel. Introducing your three judges scoring this undisputed world title contest from ringside. From Canada, Jeremy Hayes. From Puerto Rico, Gerard Martinez. And from the United States of America, Joe Pasquale. And at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring, from Canada, referee Michael Griffin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set and we are here. This is it. The time has come. I said the time has come. From the four corners of the world to the four corners of this ring right here in Guadalajara, Jalisco, introducing first, the challenger, El Retador. He wears the gray and black. His spirited southpaw scale, 166 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 32 victories, 5 defeats. He has 18 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Islington, North London, England. Here is the former WBA and the reigning WBO interim super middleweight world champion, the gritty game and rugged mandatory challenger, the gorilla, John Ryder. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He is the defending undisputed world champion. He wears the green and gold. He scaled 166 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 58 victories, 2 defeats, 2 draws, with 39 victorias por vía del cloroformo. Ganó su primer título mundial hace 12 años. Peleó por última vez en Guadalajara hace 12 años. Esta noche celebramos el regreso de El Rey a casa.
was David Diamante doing possibly the longest introduction I've ever known for a boxer. The most passion, and for Diamante that's going somewhere, because the man lives and breathes passion, lives and breathes passion. Well, that's it. We're ready.
We're ready.
Just a little introduction here, and then it'll be you, me, those two, and 55,000 people, and whoever's listening at 4:20 in the morning in the UK.
I'm sure they're up.
They are. If they weren't up 5 minutes ago, they're up now, Claudia.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's have a great fight, sister.
Let's do it.
Fight. Ring that bell. The referee from Canada, Mike Griffin. An experienced, relaxed, and known as a good man in the boxing business. Canelo facing out, just turned around. Here we go, round one in Guadalajara. And there's the roar and the cheer that I expected, Claudia. That roar as they came together.
And they have yet to throw a punch, and yet everybody is like at the edge of their seats.
It's just possible that these two in the ring might be the two calmest human beings inside this entire stadium, the Estadio Akron. Is that a fair comment, do you reckon?
Absolutely. Just looking at the stats, they're very similar in terms of offense and defense. Accuracy, one is 47.1 in accuracy, the other one is 42. So those 5 points really don't make much of a difference. That's
right, and there's not going to be a lot of wasted shots in a fight like this. It's going to be smart, it's going to be intelligent, and that's really what both of them do. They're smart fighters.
Very patient for the last 30 seconds.
John getting a bit closer with that, just trying to throw a right hand there. John, of course, being a southpaw, that means he leads with his right hand.
Exactly.
In the past, Canelo has handled southpaws either very well or maybe not so well, but it's hard to say that you can't say that he can't handle southpaws. Sometimes he's had a bit of trouble with them, other times he's walked through them.
Yes, like James Kirtland, Billy Joe Saunders, but let's not forget Eddie Zandilara. That was a questionable decision right there.
Yes. But it was a long time ago, what, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
10 years ago, something like that?
But even then, when he fought Cotto, being a natural 160, Cotto being a smaller 160, he still went the distance.
So John, this is what I expected John to do. I expected Canelo not to try and outwork John. He's pushed him back, he's standing in front of him, he's standing close to him. And of course, if you think about it, people tend not to go to Canelo and get in Canelo's face. They tend to try and work out ways to survive. John is not here to survive, and as we say in the UK, he's not here to make up the numbers, Claudia.
No, but he said it. I'm not here to just make presents.
Absolutely.
I'm here to fight, and that's what Canelo loves.
Absolutely.
This fight is going to bring him the fight, so you know what he's going to react with? Counterpunch.
Yeah.
And he is an outstanding counterpuncher. Watch for the left hook.
But John's not going to give him an awful lot to throw, not an awful lot of space, an awful lot of shots and stuff. It's going to be a fight where they don't throw a lot of punches. Good right hand there for Canelo. Went in over the back of John's guard. John maybe went back in a straight line. Maybe should have moved differently.
Canelo's still trying to find his distance, but look, that left is going in double with a hook, overhand, and then looking for the elbow, just to bring that hand down.
Absolutely. The first one going in under, and then the second one going in on that right arm. Takes its toll. You hit an arm enough.
Well, as Callum Smith.
Exactly like Callum Smith. Hey, if you're going to read my notes and steal my lines, you know, me and you are going to fall out, sister. That's the end of the first round. Not a lot in that round. If you had to score that round, what are you doing? The champion?
Well, by the 3 parameters, just because of ring generalship, we saw Canelo handling the ring like the champion.
Absolutely.
But I mean,
it's a nothing round.
Yeah, unfortunately, we still have to adhere to a 10-point system.
Everyone seems to have calmed down a bit now. We've been waiting, well, some people here have been waiting 12 years for Canelo to get back in the ring. Some people have been in the arena 3 or 4 years. That was a good right hand on the ropes there. We're watching it on the replay here on Azteca TV.
That left overhand.
People have just calmed down a bit now. Just calmed down a bit. Now, the fight might find a groove and we might get something special in a couple of rounds, I think. I think it'll take a few rounds, Claudia. That's my gut feeling.
Well, we've talked about this. Canelo traditionally is a slow starter. He likes to take his time. He likes to create the spaces. He likes to create his own fight.
Yeah, here we go, John Ryder coming out for the second round. In the first round, perhaps we give it to Canelo with that big right hand he threw, and he's sticking in 1 or 2 left hands. Ryder was in that first round. Sharp enough, he was powerful enough, and they clinched a few times. It was the type of round I expected. The type of round I expected for a first round in a fight like this between two guys with good defensive setups.
And solid boxing skills, period. And I love the matchup in terms of boxing style. Both very aggressive, more of brawlers rather than boxers, and that's what's coming out. Not to say that they cannot box, but their comfort zone is in brawling.
Absolutely. They feel that they're happy when they're in front of each other. We've seen that right hand again there from Canelo, just being dropped in over the back of the left hand. And if Canelo finds a punch that he likes early in a fight, he develops it, he works on it until he perfects it. Sometimes, generally, about round 5 or 6. I'm thinking of the way he took out Amir Khan. I think that was the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken. He kept throwing the punch in the first rounds and then landed it perfectly. And finally, I think in the 6th round. And Billy Joe Saunders kept looking for the right uppercut, looking for it, then bang, it happened.
And that's exactly what he's looking. I want you to check out his footwork. That half step with his left leg is just a half step, enough for him to just give that tough tap, but enough so he can pull out.
Well, of course, and the other thing is with Ryder's right foot being in front, if Canelo does get his left foot outside that, Ryder can't move. He's momentarily trapped in that one instant. The crowd's sending up some kind of haunting Canelo chant, some kind of haunting series of words. It really does feel magical here in Guadalajara. It does feel like we are sitting, it feels like a film set. It feels like you're in the middle of a West End play or a Broadway play. The colors are so vivid.
We can call this Canelo Ryder 1.
Yes. It's quite marked up a little bit around the right eye, John Ryder. I think that was for maybe when they were clinching the first, just a bit red. Yeah, not bad, no cut, but just a little bit red. And he is pinging, Canelo is pinging him with those left jabs, Claudia.
Don't forget, that left is lethal. Watch, right there on the rib cage. He's literally looking for that right hand on Ryder to
and
go down.
And finding that spot.
Yes. And you can see how Ryder just wants to keep the fight in the short distance, so he wants to go into the inside, look for that solar plexus,
and let his own short shots go from that distance. Again, this round following just a similar pattern to the first round, maybe just a little bit more action, but not a lot of action. John Ryder not afraid to come over his front foot, throw a little left hand there, and then try the right of his own behind the elbow. Neither of them landed flush. There's the 10-second clapper to end round 2. A big right uppercut there from Canelo, and a beautiful, as Claudia keeps talking about, the short left hook underneath the right elbow. That's a dangerous punch. Ryder knows it's coming, but he can't do anything about it. And I remember talking to Callum Smith, Ryan Rhodes, Amir Khan, and they say, Steve, he makes you do what he wants to do, and you stop doing what you want to do. That's how good he can be.
That's why one of the first parameters I use to score on his behalf is ring generalship.
Yes.
He owns that ring, and he creates that space for himself. So another thing that I wanted to point out is the fact that he's so comfortable at just letting John walk in. And like you said, when he walks in, he changes his angles just enough to make John Ryder uncomfortable.
I mean, and these angles we're talking about here, if people can imagine, we're talking about two men who are basically separated by 5 or 6 or 7 inches, and Canelo can move his feet maybe 2 centimeters, and that can change every single thing that he's doing. We're going into the third round. Going into the third round. I expect to see a little bit more from Ryder in this round, otherwise the fight might just get so far away that there's no chance of even pushing it tight. Might see a little bit more, but then Canelo seems to come out closer. He's getting very close when he's throwing the jab, very close.
And you see, Ryder's being aggressive. He's throwing the hands. He's letting his hands go. But the other parameter is assertive aggression. I am not just going to throw because I'm going to burn out. I'm going to throw enough to create damage and then pull out. Ryder is still trying to get his rhythm.
I think Ryder's nose is bleeding. That's from the right hand that Sol's dropping in over the top of the left guard. Ryder did score a couple of good uppercuts, but It's that right hand. Canelo has not missed with that, and it's the left hook he's dropping in behind the elbows. Two punishing shots. Bit of blood smeared over both of their bodies. That's coming from John Ryder's nose. It's smeared up the side of Canelo's head. The jab's effective. The left hook to the body's effective, but it's that right hand that he's dropping in over the top. That's a dangerous shot.
But nice body work right now by Ryder on Canelo. That right was going into the rib cage of Canelo. He just needs to be a little bit more aggressive. But the blood is coming out profusely now.
There's a lot of blood smeared around John's face. Canelo himself is now covered in John's blood. Smeared both of their faces, absolutely smeared. Canelo has pushed John back into his own corner, and he's letting rights go, he's letting lefts go. John Ryder controlled on the ropes, but that's an awful lot of blood coming from his nose. Ryder might find himself struggling to breathe a little bit, plus we are at altitude, not at massive altitude, but at some altitude. So Canelo Álvarez can do something where he stands in front of you 6 inches away, and he can land with either hand from that distance. That's incredible.
And we don't give him enough credit for his defense, and it's a very passive defense. If you see, he's not holding his hands too tight. They're soft enough that he can actually throw the punches, but then he combines that with very small waist movements to avoid Ryder connecting.
The amount of blood is quite staggering. It's everywhere. It's on Canelo's back. It's all over Canelo's head. It's all over John Ryder's hand and gloves. Both of their shorts are taken on. They're being smeared relentlessly with the blood. Canelo's still pushing John Ryder back. John Ryder's trying to throw his right jab from the ropes, trying to throw that. Canelo's stalking him. As Claudia said, he can get close. He doesn't throw anything. He's paused. He's waited. He's letting just little punches go. He's landing with uppercuts. Ryder himself coming back there with his own uppercuts. This is not a bad round for Ryder, but he's losing it.
Yes.
It's not a bad round. Is that a fair comment?
I totally agree with you, Steve. You couldn't have said it best. As a matter of fact, if you see when he closes distance, if he could just stay there and throw those uppercuts that have caused damage on Canelo, but he wants to pull back. There's this hesitation, just a bit of hesitation.
And the moment he moves back, there's the bell to end the third round. John Ryder very marked up. I don't think there's a cut on any eye. I think that is only his nose. Mark Seltzer in the ring now. Yeah, he's just looking at the nose. There's a lot of blood. Canelo looks extremely happy. Ryder, I'm not saying he looks distressed, but I think he's trying stuff, and he's finding out what we know and what people have been saying, Canelo opponents. He makes you do, I'm going to repeat it, he makes you do what he wants to do, and he makes you stop doing what you want to do and what you're good at. Because Canelo has nearly nullified, he's nearly stopped John Ryder from connecting with the short right uppercut. There's been one or two, but nowhere near enough.
No,
Claudia.
Not enough. That's it. It's not that he is losing, it's the fact that he's not doing enough to fill the judge's eye. So, but that's the common thread.
That's the thread. That's what Canelo does, and we can keep going on about it. But that's what he does. He controls me. John Ryder's friends here, Charlie Sims here, Connor Ben screaming, JR, we've got this. Come on, JR, a bit more work. That's what Tony Sims in the corner would have been saying. And knowing Eddie Reynoso, he would have just been saying to Canelo, just stay calm, keep on, something like that. He's a calm kind of corner man, isn't he? I
love the fact that he uses let's box pretty.
That's a nice line.
How do you box pretty?
How do you box pretty in front of 55,000 people baying for blood? That's another contradiction in our boxing business, Claudia. That's another contradiction.
The one thing that I do need to tell you is Eddie said Canelo has to win today with a knockout. He has to take this win in a decisive manner.
Well, he won't have to go looking for John Ryder, as we've seen. John Ryder will be there. Canelo's marked up underneath his own right eye. That would be coming from the left crosses that John Ryder has been throwing and has been connected with. It's a very tough fight. It's a very hard fight. It's a very grueling fight. And it's a very technical fight. It's a very, very technical fight. It's a fight of just slight movements, just slight adjustments from both of them, Claudia.
I love it because I totally agree with you. As a matter of fact, this is the type of fight that any little mistake is what's going to cost you the fight. It's going to cost you dearly. And you have to have a perfect fight tonight.
And you can see what he's doing, Canelo. He's getting close. When he's in that close, he throws the jab, then he bends the jab into a hook, then he bends it back into a jab, then he throws it underneath the elbow.
You know that you talked about the percentage of punches they land. They may be higher in this fight because they are not wasting very much whatsoever. This is about throwing and connecting and waiting for the next sequence of punches.
As a matter of fact, that's exactly what JR is doing. He's trying to just bring his center of gravity down, trying to establish more ground. His stance is a little wider, just to make sure that he can assimilate whatever punishment is coming from Canelo and be ready enough for a counterpunch.
John Ryder himself there, terrific 2 body shots underneath the elbows there, but then Canelo just does a thing, he just comes closer, and suddenly you're going backwards.
It's like the Bunny Energizer, the Energizer Bunny just keeps going forward. Yes.
You know, that was the first time John Ryder's managed that. As Canelo came at him, he moved out of the ring, but he left himself open and Canelo dropped in a left. The amount of blood, the amount of crimson smeared on John Ryder is quite alarming.
Wow.
Even for a business, the bloody business, that's a lot of blood.
It is a lot of blood, and his face is a poem. It's a real poem to what boxing is all about. It's punishment, and that's exactly what that face is saying.
So if you're having your cornflakes this morning, I do apologize. It is bloody, and I do apologize.
At 4 a.m.
So yeah, at 4 a.m. Now, John Ryder there taking a slight break by just claiming Canelo, just taking a little moment, just taking a second, because if he's got Canelo in a clinch, he can't do anything. Canelo's ominously moving forward, letting those shots go, letting the left hook under the elbow and the big right hand go.
I want to call attention to the change in the footwork.
Canelo.
Remember the first couple of rounds, he was very soft on his toes, fighting on his toes, and now walking into this next round, he's a little bit more flat-footed. He's a little bit more assertive.
To settle down on the shots.
Yes.
The shots. If that happens, you dig your toes into the canvas instead of floating across the canvas. You get a little bit more power. You get a little bit more leverage. You let the shots go. You're pushing up from your toes, which are digging into the canvas. Sometimes they can sink 1 inch into the canvas. You know, from our position when we're actually on the ring, where you were earlier, you can see their toes going in, and we see a little bit of that with Canelo. I'm going to say that he's just starting to, another expression we use in the UK, he's just starting to fancy it. He's just seeing that blood showing him something. We're going into round 5.
Exactly. I did tell you.
That's a nice song.
Starter.
The bracelets are going off. It's being controlled by some grandmaster of bracelet lights. Here we go into round 5. John Ryder, by my scorecard, is 4 rounds down. Not 4 rounds that he's taken a beating, just 4 rounds that he's lost. The blood here, however, tells a different story. But don't be fooled by blood from a nose. It's a very deceptive thing. Canelo comfortable and happy to be close. John Ryder now having to fight his way off of the ropes by landing and throwing 3 or 4 punches. None of them treble. None of them are troubling Canelo. Canelo himself just getting so close. And as Claudia said earlier on, he gets so close. His hands are loose. He lets them go. These punches, that left hook there, that oof sound you heard from Claudia, was in response to a left hook. There's a short left hook going in under the elbow. Canelo now jabbing from a bit further back. They let that right hand go, coming behind the glove of John Ryder, the left glove, which, by the way, John Ryder managed to parry brilliantly. But when you're parrying on your left side, meanwhile on your right hand side, Canelo slipping left hooks in under the elbow. Canelo is playing and placing his shots here playfully, it would seem, but we know it's devastating.
I remember one time he actually said, sometimes I have to play with my food.
And that's what it looks like to me here. That's what it looks like. It's like he's tenderizing John Ryder. Tenderizing him up with left hooks to the body and then dropping the right hand in.
I'm stealing that from you.
You can have it.
What I did like about Ryder just a few punches ago, he's trying to maintain that. Oh my God!
A straight right hand. John Ryder found himself with his feet square. He's been hit on the chin. He's sunk down the ropes. He's taken the count on his knees. Looks to me like he's about 7 or 8. He's got up at 8.5, 9. He knew where he was at all times. It's boxed on from Mike Griffin, the referee. So Álvarez has moved straight back into the attack. He's pushing John Ryder back. John Ryder looking a little bit desperate in the corner, but he's fired back with a left hand of his own and a right hook of his own. And now Canelo has to take it to him with the jab and try and land the right hand again. John Ryder's managed to get close. He's ripping shots in. It's a brave and valiant recovery from being dropped so heavily like he was. He's come back with another shot. Canelo's taken a bit more space. There's the right hand. He's sending him up with a big right hand, digging his toes in, as Claudia said a bit earlier on. John Ryder valiantly and bravely, and no doubt in in a way, perverse way, entertaining the Mexican fans by not falling over. That's the right uppercut that's come in there from Saul Canelo Álvarez. The blood is actually spurting out of the nose, Claudia. That's another big right hand going in over the top. That's the sort of right hand that dropped John Ryder. John Ryder in desperate trouble here in round 5. His nose is bleeding. He's been dropped. He's been caught. He's been hurt, but he is resilient. He is fighting back. He is not giving up, Claudia.
This is amazing. John Ryder actually recovered. He was totally out. He had no legs, and he's still very much in this fight.
He's come right back, and he knew once he got up, he needed 20 strong seconds. He's given us those 20 strong seconds. The clapper has gone to end round 10. We have 10 seconds left. That's the bell. John Ryder going back to his corner. There's a chorus of bravery and approval from his friends and family.
Wow.
Here. The
Talk
place
about
itself
heart.
has ignited. Every single light in the building is on. Canelo has decided to stand. He's not bothered to sit. Eddie Reynoso is working on him in John Ryder's corner. Tony Sims is talking desperately and urgently to him in the corner. Mark Seltzer has stuck some wobs drenched in adrenaline up each nostril to try and stem the flow of the blood. This is a desperate 1 minute break here for John Ryder. He was hurt when he went down, Claudia. I wasn't sure he was even going to beat the count.
No, I didn't
wasn't
think so.
sure. That must have been one of those 9.5 counts by the time he stood.
I don't know Ryder that well. I know his boxing style, but today he's giving me some serious heart.
Yes.
This man's got a warrior's heart.
He said all week, no matter what happens, I will not quit. And he has proven it. We're going into round 6. It's all Canelo. Ryder has been down, Ryder has been hurt, but Ryder fired back. He was brilliant in the comeback. Canelo now stalking, looking, straight right hand, straight down the pipe. That's the right hand that dropped him, John. Then the left hook, the most dangerous shot. The shot, John Ryder came back with his own southpaw left cross coming in behind Canelo's right glove, dropped it in there. In fact, it was a very good shot, made Canelo think just a second. John Ryder has not been able to use his right uppercut, his left uppercut, which is one of his best punches, and that's what Canelo does.
And look at this jab. His jab is right there, right in front of his face.
This is a brave performance from John Ryder. He was dropped heavily in round 5.
Uncanny, his recovery. It was not more than 20 seconds, and he was back on his legs, no problem.
Now, it's attritional. John Ryder knows that. A brilliant left, a brilliant right, and then a final right hook caught Canelo quite clean. Canelo then held. This is John Ryder battered.
Another right.
He's been clipped on the top of the head, John Ryder. It looks like he staggered back, but he's now claimed Canelo. That's a simple way to get out of business. Canelo now coming straight back at him. It's an awful left uppercut that's gone straight into the solar plexus. There's the right hand to the head. That one just narrowly missed. That's the punch. That's the punch that Canelo's looking for. He knows he's catching him. He knows he's hurting him with the headshot. He knows he can drop that right hand in behind John Ryder's left guard. John Ryder on that occasion took the shot on his left guard. So Canelo switched, adjusted his feet, landed a left hook. John Ryder firing back with a right uppercut and a left cross. A short left cross from John Ryder. A right uppercut down the middle. Canelo poised, waited, missed the right hand, looking to throw the left hand. John Ryder in with two left hands, including a left uppercut that shot Canelo's head up. Canelo stalking, taking his time. There's the right hand over the top. There's the left and the right over the top. John Ryder back, took the shots. The blood is flowing again from John Ryder's nose. This is attritional, this is hard, this is tough. John Ryder backed into the corner. He looks quite desperate in there. He may be brave, he may be resilient, but he's only human, Claudia.
Absolutely, and you can see how that jab, he's tapping it and tapping it. He's just giving him time. Canelo has the answer. He just taking his time because Ryder is not willing to go in such a close fight like he did in the first couple of rounds. He's keeping his distance.
He's also been hurt, I think, Ryder, to the body because he's dropping his elbows are down, he's leaning over. Canelo is stalking. This is the dangerous Canelo. When he gets that close, he can throw a straight left, he can throw a straight right, he can he can bend the left, he can do what he likes. The right hand, the left. John Ryder has done marvellously to get through the 6th round, having been dropped in the 5th round and dropped heavily. That's the end. That's the end of round 6.
John Ryder has no quit in him, folks. I can assure you of that. He may be losing the fight, but he's winning a battle somewhere. Mark Seltzer in the corner with his swabs drenched in adrenaline up the nostrils to try and stem that flow of blood, which was smeared over both the boxers. Tony Sims looks quite concerned as he's talking to him. Canelo this time is sitting down. It's John Ryder that's standing. Tony Sims drenching John in water. The doctor, there's a medical inspection of the nose. The doctor seems pleased that it's not broken. Hey, it wouldn't be the first time it was broken. He wouldn't be the first man in a world title fight to fight on with a broken nose. So the swabs are up there. Mark Seltz just applying a bit of Vaseline either side, leaving the swabs in for maximum amount of time. Tony Sims in the corner does not look particularly happy.
No.
Eddie Reneso in the other corner, calm. Canelo, calm. The gum shields are in. Mike Griffin, the referee, in the middle of the ring. Here we go. It's round 7 in Estadio Akron, and we have a hard and grueling and bloody fight on our hands, Claudia.
Steve, I ask you, the choice of standing during the break by John Ryder, is that typical of him?
You know what I think that was all about? No, it's not typical of him. I'll tell you why he did that. Because if he was sitting, he wouldn't have been able to look Tony Sims in the eye.
Oh.
Because he would have had Mark Seltzer in front of him, the cuts man working on his nose. So he can stand, Mark Seltzer can lean around, and therefore he can have eye contact with Tony Sims. That's what I think it was. That's why I said these are concerning moments, because they were having a heart-to-heart conference. They're not just boxer-trainer, they're friend and friend. Here we go.
Brilliant.
Round 7 here at the Estadio Akron, and John Ryder still coming forward, still throwing right jabs, still trying to land that left cross. Whether he lands in the middle of the guard like he did there, catching Canelo flush on the chin. Canelo doesn't even budge. The man has an iron chin, he has an iron will, he has a giant heart. That's a great short uppercut from Canelo. It just missed, but that's the dangerous shot. That's the type of shot he's looking for.
And that right on John Ryder is going into Canelo's ribcage, but he just takes it.
He just takes it, he walks through it. I mean, the better the shot, the better he walks through them.
So a lot of times we call attention to his skill to hit to that uppercut, to that left hook, but his defense and his resilience to just take and assimilate the punishment.
And that must break your spirit if you're a fighter. You've called him a good shot. That's a good right hand there. John Ryder's left leg is wobbled. It's a short right hand that he's dropped in over the top of the left guard against Canelo Álvarez. I think he knows that his prey is hurt. I think he knows he's moving in. I think he knows he could possibly finish this. John Ryder once again smeared in dark blood from the nose injury, which has been bleeding since about round 2 or 3. John Ryder still sticking out the jab, still defiant, still heroic here in this ring in front of 55,000 people in Guadalajara. There's the big right hand dropping in over the top there. There is a light breeze which has finally cooled the temperatures. It was 100 degrees in this city this afternoon, and I can assure you it was hot. It was hot when they started boxing 2 or 3 hours ago. John Ryder caught again by a left underneath the elbow, but still trying to land his own jab, still trying to let his own left hands go. Canelo looks poised. He looks like he's looking for a finish, Claudia.
Very calm, very collected, being very, very precise with the punches that he throws. He's not wasting any energy, and if you see every punch he throws, his heart and soul is in it. Watch, that left is just going in, straight left.
Yeah, these are not touching punches or feeling punches. These are not the punches we saw in the first couple of rounds. These are punches you see when he's trying to finish a fight, Canelo. And how many times have we seen that in his 58 victories? When a man's hurt, when a man's bloody, when a man's backed up, that's when he's at his most dangerous and he's most lethal. That's the clanger that gives us 10 seconds to finish this, the 7th round. John Ryder still in there, still brave, still defiant, still throwing punches, still bleeding.
Very much so.
Still looking like a man that's been in an awful battle a long way from home.
One of the things that is unbelievable, Ryder is trying to maintain that circular movement, but it doesn't matter where he goes. Even if he chooses to go to the right, he's going to get a right. If he goes to the left, he'll get and they're both causing damage.
And they're dangerous shots. They're not, as we said in that round, the pair of us, these are not touching shots anymore. These are shots to finish a fight. These are shots to hurt a man. What's interesting, once they clear the blood from John Ryder's face, okay, he looks clean. Okay, yeah, and also, you know, he's not gulping, he's not suffering. I mean, it's been a grueling, hard fight because he is having to work flat out, whereas Saul, he looks the same. Nice and relaxed.
we get a little close-up from our neighbors, and Canelo's face looks flawless, impeccable.
Absolutely. There might be a mark stuck in his right. There might be, but it might have just been a residue of some blood. Here we go, round 8. 4 world titles on the line, but forget the titles. As Claudia said, it's all about pride here in Guadalajara at the Azteca Akron. You'll listen to me, Steve Bunsen. I'm ringside with one of the big names in boxing, Claudia Trujo. The Estadio Akron. I probably called it the Akron, not the Aztec, although that's another story. Here we go into round 8. John Ryder backed against the ropes in his own corner, in the corner that he is absolutely drenched with both sweat and blood during the rounds that he's gone back for a lot of attention. He's still smeared with blood on his back. Canelo now pushing out his jab, holding his jab there, pulling John Ryder's guard down to land the right. John Ryder's turned him and he's working in close himself from a position where he can push, where he has managed to push Canelo back. Oof. Canelo just missing with that right hand. That was that, and it was a nasty one.
That was coming with all bad intentions.
That was a nasty one, the short one. He's landing, he's varying his rights, he's varying his left. He's winning this fight the Canelo way. And it's nasty.
Canelo's fight.
And it's draining and it's hard. And John Ryder's heroics to be here in round 8, having been dropped so heavily in round 5, is quite incredible.
Let's look at Canelo's right leg. It's soft enough, but enough that he can actually plant it.
Switch it and
bring the hip in.
In a fraction of a second, the power comes up from the toes, through the hip, through the waist, bosh, through the arm. You know, Claudia, you and I have seen an awful lot of Canelo fights. That's a great right hand. I thought Ryder might have gone down there. He's been caught with a big right hand. Canelo had moved off to the side, out of Ryder's vision. Ryder turned into the right hand. I thought his legs were gone. These are quite worrying moments, I believe, for John Ryder, and I believe the people inside the John Ryder camp might just be looking at their fighter at this stage. As I said, sometimes there's a trainer-boxer relationship, and sometimes there's a friend-friend trainer-boxer relationship.
And that's the case on both corners, by the way.
Absolutely it is, yes. John Ryder caught earlier with a couple of shots, one particular right cross. I didn't like the way he reacted, but here we are 30 seconds later and he's in the center of the ring. He's looking, finding gaps. He's throwing the left, his own right jab out, making Canelo move his head, making Canelo move backwards. Canelo still calm, even his gloves are slightly lower than they maybe were before. John Ryder leading with a left uppercut there that caught Canelo, just about caught him. It was about an inch too far, but that was a good bold shot and a dangerous shot, just showing Canelo that this man may have been down, he may be losing, he may be bloodied, but he's not going to give up.
Nope. And
there's a short right hand, almost on the bell.
He hurt
Canelo hit him with 2 left jabs, then he hit John Ryder with a right cross. John Ryder went down, he regained his feet too quickly, he should have taken an 8 count, and then the bell sounded. Tony Sims is looking out at 1 or 2 other people at ringside. John Ryder dropped right on the bell, with a right hand. He's smeared with blood, he hit the canvas, the bell sounded, and then he regained his feet too quick. The doctors now swarming all over John Ryder's corner. They're looking in his eyes, they're seeing if he's recovered from that particular knockdown. Mark Seltzer working calmly and stoically to get the blood stemmed somehow. John having to spit out non-stop because that blood's going down the back of his nose, it's going into his throat. Canelo,
and let's not forget how heavy that sits in your stomach.
And it creates a problem, and sometimes it can be a problem if you're getting hit with body shots. But it's that right hand, it's that dangerous right hand over the top. Tony Sims talking to him now.
Well, he's definitely calling him and making sure that he's aware of what's going on. Because let's not forget.
He wants the response.
Yes, that immediate response, not a delayed response. And let's get into Canelo's head. He's already knocked Ryder down on the 5th and in the 7th. And yet, he's still very much in the fight.
That's the thing.
So what else do I have left?
But here's the thing with Canelo, remember, Canelo has started this round here having dropped Ryder in the previous round, and he's not started it fast, he's just started it normally. He'll be looking to drop that right hand. He's just thrown a lovely right uppercut there. John Ryder's come back with his own short right hook underneath, or attempt to land it underneath. underneath Canelo's guard, but there's something about Canelo. He can block those shots. He reads those shots. He blocks them so easily with his elbow, and then he counters. He switches the left from a hook to a jab. It's class. It's quality. We're watching one of the finest fighters over the last 10 years, and one of the greatest Mexican fighters in history. And we're watching him put on in front of 55,000 of the people in his home state. A masterclass, Claudia.
Amen.
A masterclass.
The only Mexican that took 3 different world championships in 3 different divisions for 45 days.
Absolutely staggering.
Easier said than done.
This is John Ryder here, valiantly sticking his jab out, valiantly landing the right, trying to land the left. Canelo blocking them, moving forward ominously. His hand slightly lower. His left jab very relaxed. It's a pouring left jab. It's a hurtful left jab, but it's only setting him up for what's going to come any second now. The right hand. That's what that left jab does. It touches, and then the right hand drops him behind John Ryder's left glove itself.
I almost want to say he's taking a sweet time right now. He's looking for that one punch that would finish the fight. Watch. He's taking his time. He's looking for the space.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's a cold operator in the ring. He's a fine man. He's a gentleman outside the ring. Once he climbs through those ropes, he's vicious, he's nasty, he's heartless, he's cruel, he's brilliant at times. Canelo here does look like he's waiting just to finish the round, just to finish with a punch, with a finish. That's what it looks like he's doing. There's Canelo had switched to southpaw to land the right hook in the jab. John Ryder staggered back. He's been dropped. He's been hit with a right hand. He's fallen into the ropes, but he managed to retain his feet. He's not gone down. Everybody is standing in this arena. 55,000 people are standing for the end of John Ryder's fight here at the Estadio Akron. Álvarez with another right hand. The blood's flying. John Ryder has come back with his own left hand and his own right hook. He's cooked Canelo with a right uppercut. He's cooked Canelo with a left hand. Canelo's fired back with a right hand. We have a bloody draw here in round 9. What a fight! What a finish! One of the great rounds inside the super middleweight division. In a fight that Canelo had dominated, suddenly in round 9, we got a massive slugfest.
I cannot believe this. It's amazing the ability that he has to recover, because he was down and out against the ropes. There was no legs, nothing.
I thought he was down. I thought his legs.
I thought the fight was done.
So did I. I thought that was a reason for the referee to stop it at that point. John Ryder's gone back to the corner. He's pursed his leg. The guts, the bravery. We knew he had it in him. He promised us this kind of display. But promising a display like this and putting it on is one thing. Claudia's had to leave us. She's had to go back to her ringside duties, I believe. Maybe not. We are involved in something here. This is the way boxing is. Sometimes everybody gets sucked in. Everybody gets dragged in. Conor Benn and Charlie Sims and the rest of John Ryder's entourage retinue at ringside are sucking it in. They're breathing it in the corner. It's mini theatre. There's a million small plays being played out as we go into this, the 10th round. John Ryder down in the 5th. John Ryder down in the 8th. John Ryder looked like he was out in the 9th, and then he had a comeback in the 9th, catching Álvarez, pushing Álvarez back. Álvarez now, here we are in the 10th round, holding on. John Ryder is still in this fight. He might have lost just about every single round, but he's in this fight.
I want you to look at Canelo's right rib cage. There's some bruising. He has taken a beating, yet he keeps going, and at this point in time, he's got to be wondering, what else do I have in my arsenal to make sure that this man goes down?
Yeah, John Ryder has been hit relentlessly with a short left hook underneath his own right hand. Something that Canelo does, and he does it with aplomb, and he does it easily, and he enjoys doing it. John Ryder simply will not back down, and he's still catching Canelo with shots. Canelo with the blood smeared from John Ryder's nose and across his entire face. The crowd cheering him on. Make no mistake, there might be 20 John Ryder fans here, but there are 55,000 Canelo fans, plus 110 million people in Mexico willing him on. But Canelo is being a little bit more cautious in this round, a little bit more sensible. That rally by Ryder in round 9, that's made Canelo think, you know what, this kid might still have 3 rounds in him.
I agree 100%, and I'm telling you right now in the corner, they're wondering what else do we have?
Absolutely.
Because he's thrown everything he knows. You've just mentioned his uppercut, his left hook, his left, everything. And John takes a knee, and keeps going. That 9th round, oh my goodness.
You liked that round, didn't you, Claudia?
I love that round.
Claudia was excited in that round.
If it wasn't because Canelo was so dominating with that punch, but I would have given that round to John.
Absolutely right. John simply refusing the will hit. There's the right hand from Canelo. This time John Ryder managed to shrug it off. John Ryder still in this fight. He may be many rounds down. He obviously needs a stoppage or a knockout to win this fight, but he is still in there throwing punches. He's not trying to survive. He promised us he wouldn't try and survive. He promised us he's not here just to take the money and run and go home and feel happy with that.
Whoa.
No, he wanted to fight. He wanted to win. John Ryder said, I can win this fight. He's pushing Canelo. He's landing the shots. It's Canelo that's thinking more about his punches now. This is an extraordinary situation here in round 10. Canelo looking to drop that right hand in. The two of them standing now 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 seconds without throwing a punch. That's how tired they both are. That's how hard this fight is. Once again, Canelo connects with that right hand, and this time John Ryder was not faced. That's the bell to end round 10. That was without doubt the quietest round we've had from Canelo. The quietest round from Canelo. That was the round where he took a breather, and he's thinking. He's a smart fighter. He's been in 20-odd world title fights. He's thinking, you know what? Guys who I hit this much, they're not meant to be here. They're meant to be home. I'm meant to be in the dressing room now. I'm meant to be dancing with my wife.
He should have been gone from the 5th round.
Absolutely.
But can I just let everybody know, these two gladiators have the best stamina I've seen in a long time. It's a long, drawn-out brawl, 3 minutes, going at it, toe-to-toe, and they keep going.
And of course, Claudia, they always tell you it's been the best camp, but you know what? This time I don't think they were lying.
No.
This time I think they meant it. This time it has been. We go into round 11. Forget championship rounds. These are just brutal, savage rounds. They are singing anthems. They are singing.
That's El Rey. That's one of the oldest rancheras. Pero sigo siendo el rey. I'm still the king.
Oh, and still the king they are singing. The noise inside this stadium as we start round 11. Sold Canelo Álvarez, the king of all boxing here in Mexico, and John Ryder from Islington, the mandatory challenger, a man who came here as an underdog but refused to act and talk and feel like an underdog, has fought his heart out. He's been on the canvas twice. His nose has been bleeding since the opening round. He's having to spend most of the minute break spitting out blood that's collected in the back of his throat. Once again, I make apologies if you're preparing your porridge or your Sunday breakfast if you're nice and early. It is a bloody fight here. It's a brutal and savage fight, the way championship fights should be, especially in Mexico, especially with the king, and especially in front of 55,000 people. John Ryder is still there. Canelo is still there. Still looking for ways, Canelo, to land something different. But he's landed everything in his arsenal so far.
And they promised a show.
They've delivered a show, Claudia.
Delivered. And let me tell you, they could have taken a rest in that last round. But now they're still going at it and keeping that fight so close, in short range.
You know, this week I spent a bit of time around John Ryder, and the one thing I think's upset him is the idea that he might fall over, that he might not try, that he might not give his all, that he might be stopped on his feet, and he might not be able to, he might have people being critical of him. Anybody that was critical of John Ryder before this fight, that will change. The purists in boxing, the diehards, the men and women that knock it, the men and the women that question it. What we've seen here tonight has been gallant. It's been beyond the call of bravery.
Let me tell you something. For those that did not know John Ryder, that are not diehard fans, he's making a name for himself in front of perhaps the most critical fans ever.
Absolutely. They may have booed him in, but they will not boo him out, Claudia. No. You know that. You can have that one as well.
Yes, thank you.
That's okay, kid.
You're so nice.
No,
You're willing to share.
You know what? I'm going to say it now. They're both slowed down a bit, and I think they might be tired. This has been relentless. John Ryder has been non-stop, and even so Canelo the last couple of rounds, having to pick his punches very sensibly. This is a hard and grueling fight for both men, Claudia.
Yes, it's been tough. It's been systematic. The way the arms are already down to the waist.
Yes.
They're now taking their time. They're not looking for the jab. They're not going behind the jab. They're not looking for combinations. To just going literally for one punch, like Canelo just did with his right hand.
But he may have landed that right hand there. But I think John Ryder had done enough in this round with a jab. You know, not a lot. If we've not been describing punches in that round for the simple reason there were not a lot of punches in that round. These two guys have given everything. That's the end of 11th. Now we go into the final round,
baby.
Just to let people know, Canelo has probably won every round. Maybe there's a couple that could have gone the other way. Maybe.
Actually, I've been very critical, but I've given him 2 rounds.
Okay, you've given him 2, and I've got no problem with that. But he's also been down twice, John Ryder. But the thing is, even in the rounds he lost, he was competitive.
Yes.
He was still throwing punches. He was defiant. He was refusing to give up. He's standing once again, John Ryder, with the telltale pieces of tissue up his nose, the swabs drenched in adrenaline to try and stem the blood. Tony Sims making eye contact. Mark Seltzer applying the gum shield.
Sims said very little. Very little.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows.
Not say much.
He knows. And not 5 feet in front of us, David Diamante stirring the crowd on like they need to be stirred. Like they need to be stirred. Well done, David Diamante. That's what we call this passion. This entire arena is full and drenched in passion. And John Ryder's come out with his own punches, 4 or 5 punch combination, catching Álvarez having to hold on then, and then coming back with his own right hand. It's the right hand that's done the damage. It's the right hand that's twice so far in this fight dropped John Ryder. It's the right hand that we thought, Claudio and I, was the end of the fight in the 5th. It wasn't. Then we thought it might have been the end of the fight at the end of the 8th. It wasn't. John Ryder has come back resiliently. Tony Sims told me all week, Stevie, it will go 12 rounds. Well, it's the 12th round.
Yes.
It's not over yet, but it's gone 12 rounds.
Absolutely, we're still there. As a matter of fact, I had a bet. I don't know, are you an NFL fan?
No, but tell me, I'll listen.
Najee Harris from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He said the fight was going to be done before the 8th. And guess what? Now I got Pittsburgh Steelers tickets.
Yeah, that's good. You've won that.
Yes.
Bet. John Ryder still throwing punches, still leading off with his jab, still looking to land his uppercut. Canelo looking to land the uppercut as well. Both of them showing signs, wear and tear, of how hard and how brutal this fight has been. Look at John Ryder in there. He's throwing punches like this round decides the fight. This is heroic.
Yes, the 12th round, and you can see there's still hustle within him, going for those simple combos. We're not talking about like 4 and 5 punches, just 2, 3, but very effective.
John Ryder there landed there. He landed there with a straight jab, a left cross, and a right hook underneath Canelo's guard. And Canelo nodded as if to say, "That's quality. This is unbelievable."
Yeah, literally, what he thought was, "Okay, you got me. That's good."
That's good. John Ryder looking to work to the body, Canelo looking to counter to the body. John Ryder has taken some of those big rights in this round and the previous couple of rounds without showing any signs of tiring or hurt. Sure, he's been blooded, sure, he's been dropped, but he has been heroic from the first bell. Canelo there calling him on. No need to call John Ryder on. You can't call the gorilla on. El Gorilla, as the Islington boxers know, because he will keep on coming. He will never quit. He doesn't have quit. It's nothing that he knows. Canelo connecting with the right hands, pushing John Ryder back. John Ryder getting a little bit closer and claiming Canelo, taking a short breather as we work our way into hopefully, and I say hopefully, the last minute of this fight, because I'm going to say it now, Claudia, I want John Ryder to hear the final bell, and I think the 55,000 people in here would like John Ryder to hear the bell, because they're boxing fans. They understand the bravery and the heroism we've seen in the ring. John Ryder has Canelo backed onto the ropes and he's landing shots. 5 or 6 body shots. Canelo is now chasing John Ryder to the other side of the ropes. This is a great finish. There's the 10-second.
10 seconds
buzzer.
away from your wish.
That means he's going to get to the 12th round.
Wish.
And you know what? That's how it feels like. That is a phenomenal ending to a truly
entertaining, brave and brutal fight. Claudia, it's been an absolute pleasure and a delight. Go and do your duties.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I had a great time. Thank you.
Claudia's working at ringside. She's now going to go back into the ring and she's going to see what she can do. She's going to get hold of the boxers. That's what she does. She gets hold of fighters and she does her bit. Claudia was absolutely sensational. Claudia Trejo working here tonight for DAZN. Up in the ring, they're clearing the blood away from his face and his body, because there is blood everywhere. There is blood on every single part of John Ryder's torso. Whatever his shorts, whatever colour his shorts were, they're now red. Whatever colour his boots were, they're now red. That was a savage and brutal and bloody round. Up in the ring, Tony Sims is talking to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn talking to Tony Sims. They know they've not got the decision. They know they've not won the decision. They know it's not close. But you can't measure heart by how many rounds you lose. You measure heart by what you witnessed during the rounds. Well, I've swapped in Claudia for a young man who's working at ringside here for Boxing Social, one of the channels that provide limitless boxing content. Young Charlie Parsons joins me. First of all, Charlie, now you've spent, as we wait for them to clean John up, and as they work around and we wait for the result, you've spent a lot of time this week here with John Ryder. In fact, you were in the dressing room when he came out. What was the mood like in the dressing room, Charlie? Before we talk about the fight, what was the mood like in the dressing room before they walked out to this crowd, to this atmosphere, and to that man?
I've never seen a team so sure and so confident of victory. Laughing and joking at times. I didn't even want to really get involved. I felt, like a fly in the wall, but constantly willing to get me involved. I've never seen them so confident, and what a gutsy performance. I just put out a tweet: hardest man in England, surely.
Well, you know what, if he isn't the hardest man in England, he'll give whoever claims to be the hardest man in England a run for his money. I've got to be honest with you, when he went down for the first time in the 5th round, I thought that might be it. I thought he was really slow getting up. I don't have the benefit of a monitor here to tell me what he got up at, but it looked to me like it was a good 8.5, 9. And once he was up, but then he fired straight back in. Again, he was hurt and dropped in the 8th round with almost the last punch of that particular round, and fired back to win at least 3 rounds. But what's more, Charlie, compete in the rounds he didn't win. And that's a true measure of what we witnessed here tonight.
Honestly, true fighter spirit shown in there from John Ryder tonight. I think very important, note about the 8th there. It wasn't ruled a knockdown, it was ruled a slip. But I think everyone in the arena knew that for fact it was a knockdown.
Absolutely.
If it was called the knockdown, you take the 8 count, right? But yes. He sprung up straight away. Yes. He didn't know that there was 10, 15 seconds left. Just proving the heart he's got. I mean, okay, we can talk about how brilliant Canelo was, but just what a gutsy performance in there from John Ryder.
There were moments, certainly from about round 6 or 7 on, when Tony was looking at him really closely and talking to him in the corner. And that's sometimes when a coach stops being a coach and he goes back to being what he also is, which is a friend. But that actually coincided with Canelo slowing down slightly. So had Canelo carried on putting pressure on, who knows? Let's just get the scores, Charlie. Let's get the scores.
Jeremy Hayes, 120, 107. Gerard Martinez and Joe Pasquale both scored it out 118 to 109. All 3 for your winner by unanimous decision, and still the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Saul Canelo.
Go off the
celebrate a victory. There's a big shot on a big screen of this stadium with the fireworks shooting out of it. A stadium that's going to be used in a World Cup in a couple of years' time. A stadium that I can tell you is one of the finest I've been in. Considering there are 55,000 people here, it felt atmospheric. It felt like I was in my living room. It was that type of fight. It was that type of night. The wrestlers were going off non-stop, just like the fireworks. John Ryder in the ring there, still talking to his corner. The British Boxing Board of Control's Mick Collier's up there. I'm not saying he's smiling, but he's not downbeaten. He's not heartbroken because he knows. He'll know what he's done. And one thing they talked about, if they weren't talking about winning, Charlie, they talked all week along. Tony Sims saying, me Bunty, I'll tell you one thing, it'll go 12 rounds. I'll tell you one thing, Steve, I'll go 12 rounds, John told me. And he did go 12 rounds. He didn't get the win, but he got 12 rounds. And I tell you what, Charlie, he won some friends around the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just incredible. You can see just ahead of us, Conor Benn, Charlie Sims, all of the team Ryder there, all arm in arm. They know what a valiant performance their man put in. Like you say, the atmosphere in here is just incredible, but I don't actually think the occasion got the better of him.
No, not
at all.
I think
obviously just beaten by the better man in there. Like you say, once it got to the 9th, 10th, I was very worried. I thought, okay, maybe the corner might pull him out here. Can he go 12? He deserved to go 12, and he did. Yeah. There were times where his legs buckled, and I thought, is he going to carry on? But he did. Just incredible tonight.
Yeah,
John Ryder.
5 or 6 times his legs went, at least 4 or 5 times. And I mean, and that's in addition to the 2 knockdowns. One ruled a knockdown and one not ruled a knockdown, but it was still a knockdown. Don't worry about that. John Ryder's now left the ring. There seems to be a bit of an attempt to bring him back into the ring to do an interview with DAZN, one of the paymasters down here. Hopefully he'll come back. He will be exhausted. He was running on adrenaline there. The 2 of them suddenly slowed down in that 12th and last round. He will be tired. He will be exhausted. And it might not be today, and it might not be tomorrow, and it might not even be next week. But at some point in the future, he'll wake up and he'll go, you know what? I was in a great fight. I went 12 rounds. One of the greatest fighters in the world. One of the greatest fighters in the last 25 years. Arguably Mexico's either first or second top fighter. And I went to Mexico to do it. There's a lot of good things in that series of sentences, Charlie. He's done himself proud tonight. He's done British boxing proud tonight, John Ryder.
Look, us in boxing, we knew how tough John Ryder was, but there was a definite general consensus from the outside. They sort of argued, who is this man? They didn't think he would go as far as he did. We knew all week, like we discussed, he could put it in. And you know what? I didn't even know he had a performance that gutsy as he did.
But you knew it would take a performance like that to leave here with something, even though he's not left here with a victory. But to leave it with the respect and the affection, and Canelo's up there now praising him, getting another cheer from the crowd. To get that, you knew it would be something special, because Canelo wasn't going to take his time here. He wasn't going to glide. He wasn't going to coast, because he wanted. Let's not mess around. Canelo wanted to stop it.
Yeah, and I think he wanted it early.
He
made some comments throughout the week. He thought he wanted it within 6. I spoke to Tony Sim. They expected him to come out hard and fast. Even in the first, second, third rounds, the way that Canelo was landing those thumping body shots. I mean, time and time again, we talk about how he loops them to the head and then disguises them going down to the body. John looked hurt so early. That's 36 minutes of pure punishment in there.
And the first, as you say, the first 2.5 rounds, the sole intention of Saul Canelo Álvarez was to land those body shots, was to land that left hook, slipped in, disguised, slipped in a flurry behind the elbow, and it was going in and in and in. And there was a point in about round 3 or 4 or 5, when John was dropping his right elbow just a little bit more to try and stop it. That doesn't work, because he finds a way, he finds a gap, he finds an inch. You know, he finds a centimetre, he creates 5 centimetres. He finds half an inch, he creates 5 inches. That's what Canelo does when he pushes you back and when he hurts you. And that's why I was so worried when he was dropped in the 5th, because I sensed, Charlie, like you sensed, and we've been told all week, that Canelo wanted to finish it. Yeah. He couldn't, because of John Ryder's bravery. Let me just explain what's happening now. Up in the ring, one man's holding a fluttering Mexican flag, and that roar you can hear there is because Canelo's just finished his interview, Spanish language interview, with the words "Viva Mexico." Well, let me assure you that when 55,000, and there's not that many of them have left, when 55,000 hear Viva Mexico at the end of a night like that before they file out into the dark and make their way back to the centre of the city, you know you're going to get a reaction. You know you've got the crowd on your side. We've witnessed a great night tonight. Not a great fight in the sense of it being competitive. A great performance from John Ryder. And I also put it to you, Charlie, a great performance from Canelo.
Fantastic from Canelo. He came out and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Vicious, came with the tenacity. Those looping punches, like I said. You know, he was ready to go even longer in there. There were questions about Canelo's stamina. People said, look, is he going to gas after 6? That was certainly the consensus of some of Team Ryder. Maybe not so much gas, but, you know, could he keep going at the full pace? He did. I think he looked like he could have gone another 5-6 rounds in there, Steve.
Listen, it could have gone extra rounds. It wouldn't have been a problem for me. He would have carried on pushing through those rounds, but they would have been brutal and truly savage rounds if it had gone any further, because it was fairly brutal and fairly savage as it was. And what you would end up having then is a man that was hurt, a man that was suffering. And as it was finished with both of them, I think, exhausted. Both of them had done more than enough. You're going to be joined now by part of the commentary team from DAZN, Sergio Mora, Sergio, thank you for your time. Sergio, there may have been 4 belts up for grabs tonight, but in the end it was about pride and it was about John Ryder's heart and guts.
But didn't I tell you that last night? I told you that yesterday. The fight planned out exactly the way I told you yesterday.
Sergio, it did, and there were a lot of people who didn't think it would be that way. You described it perfectly to me at the weigh-in. So even though it came out the way you expected it, the heart, the guts, and you were right underneath John Ryder there. You could see sometimes the pain he was in. That was I thought it was a great performance from both of them.
Look, I think Ryder deserved at least 4 rounds, but Canelo won a unanimous decision. Canelo fought his fight. He backed up Ryder, but he had difficulty. I mean, Canelo's face was marked up, and Ryder, the heart on John Ryder. I mean, when he went down, I thought it was it. I mean, he couldn't bleed he was bleeding from his mouth, from his nose. I mean, there was blood all over his face. It was hard for him to even breathe out of anywhere. But for him to muster up the strength and get a moral victory and go all the way to the finish line, I mean, you gotta just applaud that.
Yeah, I am as well. And there was that point there at the end of each round when they were working on his nose, when they were talking to him, where he was just having to spit out the blood that was collected in his throat. Now, you've been in some great world title fights. You've been in some hard fights. Some you've won, some you lost. You have a nosebleed that bad, that's where it collects. Doesn't come out your nose. It goes into your throat, and it has to come out your mouth, Sergio.
No, and you start swallowing blood. You can not only can you not breathe from your nose, but you have to swallow. It starts going into the back of your throat, and you're swallowing blood. And then when you go in the corner, they shove the Q-tips off your nose, so you can't really catch your breath like you really wanted to. I mean, it really is something that an adversity not many fighters face, but when you do have to face it, you got to applaud it.
And that was 6 or 7 rounds of it, and I could see. I was watching the back of your head, and you can see when someone's got admiration and respect from a fighter, because sometimes you was going back to the corner, and I swear I saw you going, wow.
No, I was, and I kept applauding just the toughness and the heart. But then I got to question the fact that, okay, is Canelo not strong enough to penetrate the guard? I mean, he hurt him. He was able to keep him on the ropes, but he couldn't penetrate that right defensive guard from Ryder. So it just goes to show you how strong that gorilla really is from when he's blocking his hand. Canelo couldn't pierce through.
Sergio, thanks so much for your time. You've been at ringside for about 6 hours tonight. I appreciate you giving me some time. Sergio Mora there, part of the DAZN team. Not just a good guy, but a great fighter. The Latin Snake. Thank you so much for your time. Sergio Mora there. You know what, Charlie? That's that little bit of insight there with the blood that's in your throat. And from you were a row behind me, but Sergio must have been getting splattered non-stop by that blood, because John was spending 50 seconds of that 1 minute gap just spitting out that blood that was in his throat.
You know what, Steve? I don't even think me and you have discussed that yet. From the second round, his face was a bloody mess. We talk about the heart, but the heart to just, we talk about the corner work. I saw Matchroom posted a clip of John Ryder's face. It was absolutely brutal. Steve, I'll ask you. You've been to all of I think this is the 7th English fighter Canelo's fought now.
Yeah.
In terms of gutsy performances, where does that rank?
At the top.
Yeah, I thought so.
Liam Smith was brilliant because he kept getting up and he refused to back down, and he refused to stay on the floor. Amir Khan had no option. Matthew Hatton, we sometimes forget how competitive some of those rounds were. Billy Joe Saunders wasn't in the fight. There wasn't a lot in the fight. Then he got taken out and he could continue. Callum Smith didn't have the chance really because his bicep went so early. So when you look at it, it's not just a great performance by a British fighter against Canelo. It's a great performance by any fighter against Canelo, Charlie.
Absolutely.
You may have only been about 2 years of age when he was winning world titles.
You wouldn't be wrong.
No, I wouldn't be too far wrong. But you've seen the fights. You've seen those guys getting up. You've seen them being smashed, dropped, beaten. Okay? That didn't happen to Ryder tonight. No. You heard the Latin snake Sergio Mora say there. Was it that Canelo couldn't hurt John Ryder? No, it's just that John Ryder refused tonight to be hurt in this crowd, in this country, and in that ring.
There was also points, like we discussed earlier, where if the team, Tony Sims, Kevin Mitchell, if they were to throw the towel in, you wouldn't have argued it. It was just formidable how he kept going. I think also testament, a lot of us wondered what it would be like in here tonight. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. Even now in the UK,
still sense it, can't you?
Exactly. Lit up all around us. I mean, in the UK, they get out very quickly. Passionate fans over here. The stadium is still almost half full.
It is still half full, so there's a massive amount of fans here. But that's because, in all fairness, they have a great way of doing business here in Mexico. When everybody files out of here and finally gets downtown to the dozens and hundreds of bars and restaurants, unlike in London, unlike in Wembley where they'll close at 10 o'clock, they'll just be warming up, they'll just be opening up. So that's why they're not in a rush. They know they're going to be in fantastic places really quickly. I'm joined now by Eddie Hearn. He's been up in the ring. First of all, Eddie, in the last 12 or so years, we've seen some guts, we've seen some bravery. That's number one, isn't it?
It was, and actually, miraculously, came into the fight, John Ryder, when he looked like the fight was over. Almost gave him a little bit too much respect early on. Busted his nose in a second round, couldn't breathe. 5th round, 6th round, whatever it was, I thought the fight was over. And just stayed in the fight. And I thought Sal started to get a little bit tired towards the end of the fight. And the more John threw, the more success he was having as well. But just what a gutsy performance. I mean, there were times I think I heard Tony Sims say one more round and you're out of there, and every time he kept on hanging in there and battling away, and it's difficult in those kind of fights because it doesn't look like there's a way to win the fight, and you don't want your fighter to take so much punishment, and then all of a sudden he'll show him something in the round, he'll rock Canelo's head back, and obviously he was enjoying himself towards the end, but the nose was in tatters. But what a gutsy performance. Sometimes you question fighters' hearts, you shouldn't really do it. You had Ryan Garcia last week who heard out the count on his knee, and tonight was all blood and guts for John Ryder.
And that's what they'd said all week, both Tony and John. They're quite upset that people thought they might just be here for the payday, that they wouldn't try that hard, and that they would be walked through. All they kept saying to me is, I'll go 12 rounds, Steve. He'll go 12 rounds, and boy, he did.
Yeah, and watching it up close, the power of Canelo Álvarez, particularly early on. I mean, John took flush shots, the body work of Canelo, fantastic. But John showed he's a world-class fighter. But unfortunately, Canelo Álvarez is pound for pound, one of the great fighters of all time. And I think even Canelo was surprised by the toughness of John Ryder, that they couldn't get him out of there. And as I said, looked stronger in the fight. And again, credit to Tony Sims and the team, because you saw with Joe Caldina the other week, the conditioning is everything. If he weren't in that kind of condition out here in this altitude, he would never have made the 12 rounds, and he deserves massive respect tonight.
And just before I let you go, John's left. He's gone backstage. You spoke to him. Obviously, the nose was bad, but he was in decent spirits.
It's all right. You see fighters who need urgent medical attention. He didn't. The doctor cleared him over. I think, in a weird way, he's going to wake up tomorrow and say, I really enjoyed that. I mixed it with the very best in the world, and I believe, I'm up there. And he won a couple of rounds, but he was competitive in the backstage of the fight, and he deserves so much credit. We're proud of him, and fought one of the greats of all time tonight in Guadalajara.
He did. Eddie, thanks so much. Get some rest, because I'm going to grab you a breakfast. Eddie Hearn there. Charlie Parsons has gone. The crowd has gone. Claudia Trejo has gone. They're now starting to leave the venue. They're starting to leave the arena. We've witnessed a great performance from a great fighter tonight, Saul Canelo Álvarez. We've witnessed that, but we've also seen guts and bravery from John Ryder beyond the call of duty. I've been Steve Bunce in Guadalajara. Thanks very much for being with me. Good night.